although we've been keeping them in aquaria for many years, obviously for actually almost 100 years now, there hasn't been maybe the technology and keeping them in good practice to be able to actually see what they're doing. It's only in the last sort of maybe 30 years that actually people have actually started to realise that, yes, they are actually quite intelligent, and that actually in captivity, that if you don't stimulate them, then it causes them a little bit of distress.
So what can they do that surprise us with what they're able to do?
All sorts of things. I mean, depending on the species of octopus as well. I mean, something like a mimic octopus is amazing. It can mimic different things like flounders and sea snakes and various things. It's got a very good form of mimicry. Whereas something like a giant Pacific octopus, yeah, there you go.
What's going on here?
Well, this is playing time. So one of the really important things that you have to do with an octopus is actually keep them enriched. So it's just like having a small child. You've got to keep them entertained. Imagine having a small child with 8 arms and 2,000 fingers, and you can see actually how that would really affect how you look after them.
And you sound, I mean, you work with octopuses all the time, so you sound pretty fond of them, actually. So they have individual characters as far as you're concerned?
They're very individualistic. I mean, the small ones are always a bit... give you a run for your money. They're always a little bit more excitable, whereas the larger ones, maybe because they're so large, they don't have to be so rambunctious, I guess would be the word.
Do they recognise you?
They do. There has been studies in the States actually looking at how facial recognition, whether or not they can actually differentiate between different keepers, and it's actually pretty good evidence that they can differentiate between myself and maybe one of my other colleagues.
So how can you, I mean, what do you look, what are the signs on an octopus that show you that they are reacting to things? What are you looking for?
I mean, just grabbing you to start off with. I mean, we actually put our hands in the tank, so we actually play with them with our arms and things like that. And, you know, if they're sitting over in the corner very quiet, very pale looking, then that generally suggests that they're not actually in a very good state. So, you know.
And you wouldn't, I mean, you know, they're not on any level recommending that anybody should keep them as a pet because they are specialist animals.
They are such a specialist animal. I mean, you need rather large tanks to be able to keep them well.
Yeah.
And you need to have some expertise to be able to keep them as well. Because, you know, the last thing you want to do is keep something that, you know, potentially could die because of poor keeping.